So 2 minutes to go, sir.
Okay.
You can start, sir.
Good morning, everybody. This is Ranganathan again with you. This morning we'll be sharing a session on Letter Writing Day, Part A. Okay, so Letter Writing Day, Part A will be today's 18th theme. We have said 50 themes in 50 weeks. This is the 18th theme. Remaining, including today's thing, is 32 themes to go. Japanese letter writing era was a key point in the latter parts of Tokugawa, Japan, what we call as Edo period. Edo period was the Tokugawa period. It included writing letters that described personal emotions. These personal emotions were written very vividly. Within the letters of the period, description of feelings and emotions were key. Emotion presented included loneliness, sadness, disappointment, astonishment, joy, and much more. Sometimes letters written in the period express thoughts of a cultural, social events, provided much information maybe during that time. Okay, you can see a small picture, a Japanese man with two women, one of them writing letters. You can see the style of their letter writing, their dress, and the letter writing equipment they're using. From about the middle of Tokugawa period, more of the common man's children were being taught to read and write. One thing in Japan is everything they start at very early at the student level. You can even see a 3-year-old child going all alone to the shop to buy something for the house. So build them all as young is very important for the Japanese. So it's very common as children were being taught how to read and write, because once upon a time, reading, writing, those are the skills, and that is limited to only the aristocrats of that period. Japan started to change from this point of time, and fewer people were illiterate. And this brought higher chances of people writing things such as letters. Okay, when people started getting educated, they also started writing letters. More people were starting to travel to faraway places from home for jobs and for earning a living. And these were to carry out certain duties because they've been posted there. Because of this, letters become the key for such communication between hometown, homes, and the individuals. Another thing that brought the letter writing period was to establish the Hikyaku postal service. That is the man carrying the post and running around. That is called the Hikyaku postal service, as we have explained to you earlier. This service first opened the Kanto area. Kanto is the Tokyo, Kawasaki, that's the area, Kanto area. In 1729, Kanto is up to Yokohama, Kawasaki, and grew more towards the end of 18th century. The growth was most likely what caused the increase in letters as a form of communication in those days. Key letter writers during this period include people like Yoshida Shoin. He had a collection of 245 letters. Some were very long, and this interest began when he was about 21 in 1850. There's a picture of Yoshida Shoin at the bottom, you can see. He got this interest from when he traveled beyond the boundary of feudal domain in Kyushu. He had a feudal lord. His domain was Kyushu, the southern island. And Kyushu was renowned in Japan for being a great place for Chinese and Western studies. Yoshida Shonin, unfortunately, was put to execution on October 27, 1859. So he wrote a farewell letter to the family and friends of this. Yoshida Shoin's contribution to the letter writing era were what brought the era to its peak. Now, if you see, look at these letters, the stamps for the letter writing day. This is 1979 when the first set of stamps were released for letter writing day. There were 2 stamps, and this was released on the July 23rd. We'll also talk about why 23rd makes a very important day for letter writing. And it's a multicolor stamp, commemorative, with a comb of 13, photograph you, and there were 2 stamps. One is a 20 yen, another one is a 50 yen. And both show letter and letter writing. And there's also a first day cover. The 23rd day of each month is a letter writing day. That has been used as an opportunity to popularize and enlighten people about the letter writing movement on a nationwide level since 1979. As a part of these efforts, each year in July, or Fumizuki, meaning month of letters in ancient Japanese, the Japan Post issues commemorative postage stamps in association with Letter Writing Day. A Letter Writing Day, 23rd of each month, the day was designated by the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications to promote letter writing. The name is appropriate because 23, 2 and 3, can be pronounced as Fumi by taking Fu, Futatsu no Fu. Futatsu means 2, Futatsu no Fu is Fu, Mitsu is 3, so Futatsu and Mitsu. So they take the Fu and Mi and say Fumi, yes, which is a classical expression of the word letter Fumi. That's why Fumi no Hi, that is letter writing day, day of the letters, is 23rd July every year. They call it as a Fumi no Hi. There is no obvious connection between diverse themes like traditional Japanese sweets, famous kabuki scenes, Tokyo 2020 games, Meiji era color prints of Tokyo and Yokohama, and the G20 Osaka summit. But they're all designs of commemorative stamps issued by Japan Post Company Limited. Being able to convey a sense of Nippon condensed into a tiny piece of paper, just centimeters on a side, is unusual work of a stamp designer. It is a stamp designer, through that small bit of a piece of paper, he brings these themes into stamp. It can be varied themes, like what I've indicated above, some of them. Okay. Now these stamps are the ones that is constantly a designer's job, and also the designer has to think of so many varieties, so many designs. Unless a person is highly creative and imaginative, he cannot be a good stamp designer. These 2 stamps show how people in Japan in Edo period were dressed. Look at the dress of these people in both the first day cover and the postal card, and the way and tools for writing. Okay, to induce people interest in writing the snail mail. That's called as snail mail in those days, because the mail used to reach slowly, because people have to carry, run, and hand over. These two beautiful stamps were created the first letter writing day on July 23rd, 1979. Now, if you look at all the stamps, at the end of the presentation, I'll show you where is the target that they are making. Social media and emails are extremely convenient. They are cheap and don't take up so much of space. In contrast, letters are somewhat of a hassle. Stamps are expensive. Writing by hand takes time, and you need to go to the post box to send them. It makes you wonder why people write letters. Why should they do this? I think letter writing started much earlier than the social media and emails. That's one of the reasons why letter writing started as a habit or a practice, and many people still continue doing that. I think that the main reason is because they lost for a longer time. It's very interesting. If you meet the big difference between any person from any country and the Japanese, if you normally on the day first time you meet a Japanese, you exchange your visiting card to show. Maybe you don't remember or anything, or your designation, the company has changed, you have changed your company, anything could be the thing. You may have a new visiting card than what you already met this person and given. You give him this card, he will take out his folder and show you, last time, Ranga, when you met me, you were in this company at this position. Could you have moved to this company? You are now designation change. That way, remembering people and keeping this is amazing in Japan, which we all don't do. It's a shame. So now when a Japanese people get the New Year card, they preserve them. They generally, as Japanese people, they look back at the cards they received a year later also, or 2 years later. This could remind you that you had been in touch with somebody lately, or it may give you a nostalgic feeling for the old school of friends you had. Okay, so he says that's why letters are more important. This is given by a great stamp designer, Tamaki Akira. Now he writes why this is there. Now, if you look at them, one is you have a teddy bear. Okay, another one is a letter folded, the good wishes. That's a style in which Japanese fold a letter for good wishes. Now, if you look at all these stamps, they always carry something that will induce a small child to look at it, fancy, and get emotion stirred. Oh, this is something I can relate myself with. That's the sort of stamps that they are designed. So that the idea that I should write letters to make use of these stamps will automatically come to the child. So the idea of letter writing is being developed through stamps, even when people are very young. And so it's very important. Now you look at these stamps, they're exciting colors, very prominent colors. And one is a teddy bear, a love of every child. Another one is a good luck way of folding the letter. Now, for years, stamps have been considered tiny foreign ambassadors. They can present a country's culture, customs, arts, and even its spirituality and grace. Stamps have been used to bolster national prestige in wartime, but I'm glad that now we live in an era when designers can exercise a degree of playfulness and create enjoyable stamps for people. Again, this is not me, but it is Tamaki Akira, the great designer of Japanese stamps, who has said this too. He calls the stamps as tiny foreign ambassadors. Now look at these two tiny foreign ambassadors issued on 27th July, 23rd July 1981. Okay, they're 21.5 by 25.5 millimeters, just 2 centimeters, just an inch stamp. And they're commemorative. And just one stamp is 40 ends, another one 60 ends. One is girl writing a letter, okay, thinking of somebody whom she loves, maybe a grandparent or another friend or whatever it is, and a boy writing a letter. So this is again tempting the children to take up letter writing. Now, during the Heian period, Japanese script was developed. The complexity of Chinese writing, the fact that Chinese characters were often unsuited for certain Japanese sounds, led writers and priests to work out two sets of Japanese syllabic systems. What is what they call as the kana or the alphabets, hiragana and katakana, based upon the Chinese form. By the middle of Heian period, we are talking about a period much earlier than Edo period, those forms are unified and simplified into kana. As the use of kana became widespread, it paved way for the development of unique Japanese literary styles. Before kana, even women were not permitted to use the Chinese characters, kanji. Whereas now, after kana, women could write. There are a lot of great, the world's first novel was produced by a lady. Okay, so by the middle of the Heian period, these phonetic alphabets, they are phonetic alphabets, and they have been improved and brought into a fairly wide use, opening the way for literature of pure Japanese style, which was to flourish in place of that improved Chinese idioms. Now, the tale of Genji, okay, is a classic work of Japanese literature, written early 11th century by a noble woman and the lady in waiting called Murasaki Shikibu. This is supposed to be the first novel in the world. The original manuscript created around the peak of the Heian period. Now, again, a very interesting thing. There used to be a joke in in India. The old lady, in the village, people don't write. So the lady calls the next house boy who's going to schools and say, "Do you help me? I want a letter to be written to my daughter in the other town. Can you kindly write this letter? I'll dictate the letter." The boy says, "My legs are paining. I cannot do anything." So the old lady says, "I only asked you to write. Why should your legs pain?" He says, "My handwriting is so bad. Only I have to read my handwriting. Nobody else can do. So if I write the letter, I have to go all the way to your daughter's house and read the letter for her." Now, this jokes apart, handwriting was very, very important. Aristocrats of Heian era in Japan. You see Japanese children writing, today almost most of the Japanese write the same way. The way they hold the pen, they write their alphabets, they write the Chinese characters, almost very identical. The styles are same. Maybe handwriting there'll be individual differences there, but the styles are the same. Now, the tale of Genji, called the Genji Monogatari. There is a scene in which Prince Genji, the protagonist, and Lady Murasaki, Genji's lover, are lying together in a room. Murasaki is worried because a 13-year-old princess, Nyo-san, has recently become Genji's official wife. And when they were together, a letter from young princess arrives. Murasaki is particularly anxious to see the handwriting, but this will determine the fate of all concerned. How well, if she writes very well, then she may take the princess away. When reading the letter, Genji allows Murasaki to catch a glimpse of that. Murasaki's first glance told her she was indeed the letter very childish production. She wondered how anyone could have reached such an age, so developing a more positive and polished style. But she pretended not to have noticed and made no comment. Okay. If the letter had come from anyone else, Genji would certainly have whispered something would have said something, whispered something about the writing, but simply said to Murasaki, "Well, now you see that you are nothing to worry about. The girl has written very beautiful handwriting and in a polished and matured way the letter. Maybe Genji would have gone back to her." The inference is that Genji would have nothing romantically to do with someone whose handwriting is substandard. So this is the importance of letter writing and good handwriting in the Heian period. Among the Heian aristocracy, handwriting was a direct extension of a person's character, spirit, and personality. It shows, and also the stamp depicts, the art of letter writing existed in the early Heian period. Now look at the stamp, a 10-yen stamp, and the 10-yen stamp is ukiyo-e, reading a letter from the scene from the tale of Genji was there. This only shows that as early as Heian period, okay, it existed in Heian period. The scene from tale of Genji also shows that people write letters, pass on information, and people read letters. Letter writing has been a part of Japanese life as early as AR period, and Japanese by then have invented their own native alphabets kana. According to topics of Japanese culture and history, there's a book. Heian aristocrats spent little time and energy writing scholarly essays and something like that. The majority of what they wrote was poetry. And this is very surprising that they found writing small poetry, few letters poetry, was even easier than writing a letter because the small poems even substituted for memoranda in government offices. Nearly any event or occasion, public or private, called rounds of poetry. The person deficient in poetic skill would have been at serious disadvantage in Heian society. Now, until quite recently, 50 years ago, Japanese wrote letters, particularly personal letters, in accordance with the traditional form and style, using a roll of paper and brush and ink. Now, if you see this side on the one side, I'm going through the development of letter writing in Japan. Other side, I'm showing you the stamp. Every year, they have been releasing a set of stamps, two stamps, 40 yens and 60 yens. This is 1982, July 23rd, as you know, 21 by 26 millimeters. And one is a seagull and a hot air balloon carrying a letter, flying high above the sea. Another one is fairy and a bird carrying a letter. Now, these are all the things very, very creative and imaginary, and maybe you don't expect a hot air balloon to carry a letter, but this sort of imaginary thing create a vision in the minds of young people. Oh, they are trying to visualize a hot air balloon carrying a letter, fairy carrying a letter. Whether fairy exists or not, that doesn't matter. But to create the thinking, the power of extending their imagination were created by these two small pieces of stamps. Now, in the earlier days, there was a well-established format, starting with one, the salutations, followed by two, a remark about the season or weather. Almost every Japanese letter will have something on season or even now. When my friends write, they talk about Japan is cold, we have hot, anything like that they'll write. An inquiry about the receiver's health in personal letters, or congratulations for receiver's prosperity in business letters, and thanks for a gift or some kindness recently received, personal letters and patronage in business letter. Then the main message is appeared. Likewise, to conclude the letter, a closing remark or summary and good wishes for the receiver's health, prosperity were necessary before the complimentary close. After that came the date, sender's name, and receiver's name and appropriate title. That's how a letter is being written in Japanese style. Now again, you have a 40 yen, 60 yen stamp. This stamp is the next year, 1983, July 23rd. You can see again a lady with a letter in the late evening. Sitting, you can see the late evening with the sun and stars appearing, and a boy writing a letter, thinking what to write with a pen or pencil with him. And there's a first day cover, which is also there posted. Okay. Now, in the older style, there was no pagination since rolled paper were cut wherever the letter ended, and there was no paragraphing either. You can see the one copy of a letter. Even the person, as he reads, he has to make the paragraph. Today, sheets of paper are used, not the roll of paper, and pagination paragraphing are usually practiced. When earlier than that, there was no punctuation also. So reading a Japanese letter is pretty difficult in the olden days. Okay, punctuation, you can even see the full stop nowadays is a big circle. Okay, now again, if you look at this, a bird carrying a letter for others. Now, another one is letter expressing love carried again by a bird. Now, these are all maybe whether the bird will carry or not, they may look childish, but this is for a child to get involved with letter writing. That's one other thing. On this side, you can see the ukiyo-e stamp 50 and stamp, which we have also explained when we were explaining about the ukiyo-e theme. Okay, two people reading a long letter. So that is it. Look at the dress of that era. Now, in Japan, if you see owl, owl is again a symbol of luck. Okay? In Japan, owls bring luck and offer protection from suffering. Okay. Similarly, on this side, if you look at this, there's another lady who has got a letter with a parrot on one side. What's the cat or something that's there with her? Okay. The owl. The reason can be found in Japanese name for owl, fukuro. Fukuro is what we call a owl in Japanese, which can be written in different sets of characters. One with meaning of luck, and the other being protection from hardship. Fukuro is also meaning envelope or anything you cover things. Since Meiji Restoration in 1868, when Japan opened its doors to the West, image of the owl was also changed. The view of the owls as a symbol of wisdom and education became more prominent. Fukuro means also an envelope or cover. Printed material is mailed from the same sender to the same recipient in postal bag, which literally is a fukuro. So fukuro owl carrying a fukuro postal cover is with a message of luck is used by putting this stamp with the owl carrying a stamp and a letter. So that's the idea of this stamp, which again was given in the next year, 1985, July 23rd. Now, the same thing, a block of 4, a block of 6, the lady with the parrot on her shoulders is there. Efficiency-minded people omit some of the 11 elements mentioned about in a letter, but often do so with apologies. It may be said, therefore, that the traditional form is still embedded in the minds of the Japanese, except, of course, for young children. Young children always get some exception. If you see the Japanese trains, it's always very, very silent. If you make any noise or something, the person next to you gives you a look. They may tolerate with patience. They may not say. But the way they look, you can see they are not. But the only exception is young school children when they come. They make noise. Nobody bothers because they think that's a privilege we give it to the young children. Okay. So the younger generation sometimes, they'll be different on this, not following all the 11 steps. Recently, official business letters have been written on printed letterheads, either by hand or by and laterally rather than vertically. Earlier, the Japanese used to write vertically top down and left right. Now it is like they are writing the sentences in English, they also write in the printed letterhead. Now, this is again interesting stamps. Okay, in between, you have this email that came up. These are all electronic mail stamps. Okay, not everybody used to get email connections, computers, printers, everything. Suppose I need to send a mail to somebody who doesn't have any of the facilities. What I do, I ask somebody's email address nearby, send it to them. They take a printout, put it in a cover, and send it to the recipient. Now, such mail covers, they have one of these stamps fixed on that to indicate what they have sent has got an email sent to them. Electronic mail is a new type of mail delivery. Now it's become very, very old to us. When email was first introduced, in the year 1984, was sent by facsimile's fax machine to the receiving office, where it is placed in an envelope and delivered. The service began in July 1981 for some post offices in Japan. Nationwide, the service began in 1984. If you do not know, you can even send it to the nearby post office. They may also print it and put it in a cover and send it to you. So this stamp issued in 1984, October 84, on August. There are two sets of stamps, 500 ends each. August 1st, 1984 and October 1884 first carry a new mark of electronic mail and also the facsimile mails that are put inside the cover. The top cover used to have the stamps to show people normal, not a normal letter, either received by email or by a fax. Now, we cannot say that electronic mail is good and regular post, which we call as a snail mail, because it takes some time, is bad. The nature of communication is different. Letters are slow communication. Of course, we are concerned about the decline in postal volumes, but letters still play a very important role for sharing things that cannot be communicated by social media. Universally, postal authorities believe that there are still a certain number of people who appreciate this, so do not think post will perish anytime soon. Attractive, meaningful stamps and special postal services are always still available and running to the full. Now, if you look at these two stamps, they were in 1986. Instead of July, they became August 23. Some years this happened. A letter by a bird sitting on a chair and with a letter there on the table and a girl holding a rabbit. Now you have a pan of these two stamps, which we call as a pan. So the pan contains 10 stamps, 5 of this, 5 of that. So you can also get them and then pan of 10 stamps are there. Now, the same thing, the same two stamps. Now the letter writing says what we see on the corner on the top, that is what we call as a souvenir sheet. And you have information sheet. Somebody got the information sheet, pasted the stamp, got a post office stamp to show that this is done at the post office. And in the earlier days, which we will talk about how the souvenir sheet was used by the postal department, I will tell you little later on that. Okay. And then 1987, an interesting stamp. One is a lot of beautiful flowers. Another one is elephant. For the Japanese, elephant is something that they don't have in their country. All that they can see an elephant is in the zoo. Unlike India, Sri Lanka, all these places where you can see elephants a lot of places. You can even nowadays seeing on the television, the elephants come into the city and then damage crops because they are looking for food and water. In Japan, you can see them only in the thing. And if you look at this elephant, it's got huge earlobes, which means they are not Asian elephants, but maybe African elephants. Again, elephant is something that really triggers a lot of happiness and love, not only in children, but also in adults. So in order to get them excited, the elephant and beautiful flowers are used. These stamps are released in 1987. Again, from August 23rd, this month they have gone to July 23rd. You see a first day cover, a pair of stamps, and also a Saturn and pair, vertical Saturn and pair is there, one above the other connected, and the individual stamp and a souvenir sheet. All of them are there in this PowerPoint. Now, this is again I wanted to show. Before this African elephant with big earlobes could deliver the message, India's first Prime Minister Pandit Nehru delivered an elephant Indra to the children of Japan on 2nd October 1949 as a replacement of 3 elephants that died during the war. Now, you see both Pandit Nehru and Madam Indira Gandhi along with the elephant in the Vienna Zoo where it was given to the children. And down below, when the elephant landed in the port, and then it was walked to the zoo through the streets of Tokyo, a lot of huge crowds, people are all excited to see an elephant walking on the roads. So that's why elephant becomes very ideal carrying a letter to deliver. So that's why this stamp is very, very imaginative and also makes it very interesting for people to get involved with letter writing. Now you see 4 stamps there, and there was they had a letter writing stamp design competition. Now, two other stamps have been designed earlier by the regular designer, or I don't know, they're also the competition, but the other two are out of the competition when children are drawn. One is girl with a letter, you can see with a heart in there. Another one is a grab's class is there, and then a fairy with a letter running, and a cat with a letter. The cat again is a very important thing, and you can see the cat showing his palm, come like thing. The skill Manakiniko, that means a cat, a good luck cat, who says, please come. It's a part of business shops and I think they have a Neko, which is waving his hand, asking customers to come. So these are the ones that won the prize in a competition and converted them into stamps. And of course, down below you can see a souvenir sheet and the booklet pad that is there. And this is given in 1988, July 23rd, 1988, July 23rd. That's an information sheet. Unfortunately, everything will be Japanese. Some information sheet, they also give it in Japanese and English. And then you can see this again, rabbits. Rabbit is something for speed and people love rabbit. So rabbit, two rabbits with a letter and bird as a vase holding the envelope. It's a vase. You can see the bird holding the letters in the tail. It's a vase kept on the table. The bird vase is holding a letter in the beak and a lot of flowers in the thing. So this again is 1918 and July 23rd. This time it's 21. They released this, and if you see for the first time, the face value so far, I told you, two stamps are released, 40 yens and 60 yens. Now the face value has changed to 41 and 62 yens from 1989. As you all know, this is a pen of 10 stamps and a souvenir sheet. This booklet pen is outrageous, imperforated. They're not perforated, it's totally imperforated. Okay. Now, stamps add flavor rather than decoration. A good analogy is udon noodles. It's always nice. Udon is a type of noodles that are being, you can take it in any restaurant. It's always nice to have when they're sprinkled with shichimi spice on top, spring onion, and grated ginger. The addition of the condiment enhances the flavor. A skilled letter writer is adopt such flavoring, for example, selecting motif of flowers in the season at the time, or illustrations of a cartoon character when the recipients are young children. You choose something that is seen from your hometown when you write a childhood friend. It can convey a lot, and then both are shared the same area when your children together go to the same school, cross the same bridge, and stood below the same tree, any of those things. It can convey a longing to meet again feeling. Stamps are medium that can contain non-verbal information acting as a speaker for your message. There is no such function in social media, is what again Tamaki Akira, the designer, is saying. Now you can see this time the bird flying with a letter and the fairy sitting on a white horse. Last time when I talked about horses, I also said the emperor used to have a white horse. White horse is different from other horses. It's very special. And the fairy is riding a white horse to deliver the letter. You can see the bag the fairy carries with the T, the postal mark is there. Now, if you look at this, Letter Writing Day Souvenir Sheet has been issued since 1976. The souvenir sheet is on the right, what they have pasted on there. Okay, and for the first time this year, it is 1990. So that's a 1990 this year, contains only one stamp, not two stamps. Okay, and Whereas the previous ones always had two stamps, the fairy on the horse and a new image. Okay, characters for the postal service is depicted both in the 62 stamps and the margin. So now one stamp on the thing, if you want to see, there are two stamps on the souvenir sheet. Earlier, this time there's only one stamp. There is the same white horse on the stamp as well as on the margin. You can see the white horse also with a fairy. Now, this is what we call as Nengajo. Nengajo is the yearly greeting cards that you send to your friends. You can buy them bulk in post office. Now, that's how the greeting Nengajo yearly card looks like. You can see the numbers printed at the bottom of every card. On the rear side of the card is black. You can print anything that you want on that. You have good wishes, photograph, anything. And if you give the cards by 22nd of December every year, on 1st January, all these cards will be delivered positively to the recipient. That's the way the system works. Now, this Nengaji, the greeting card, not only expresses your gratitude towards and keep in touch with the family, friends, and colleagues, it also enables receiver to win prizes and nationwide lottery. These numbers are picked up on a lottery on the 7th of next month, mid-January. Okay, located on the lower right is the number. In mid-January, Japan Post selects random numbers similar to New Year postal lottery. If you match any of these numbers, you can win prizes, 1 lakh in cash, travel, electronic, food, or stamps. These stamps are given, this souvenir sheets you saw. Now they started selling. Before that, even now, they will also be given as a thing. Some of my friends, they used to give me, well, last year, the New Year card, I got this thing as a gift. I want to give it to you. Okay. So that's something very interesting. And if you see, you can see the number down below. According to NHK, the idea of combining Nengojo with a lottery started in 1949 when the price of a standard postcard was 2 yen. In the years right after the war, the exchange of Nenga Agaki postcard took a special meaning since it's a good way to inform friends and relatives that you are still alive and where you are. The lottery, which is called Otoshidama. Otoshidama is a New Year gift of cash given to children, made it even more appealing because so many people had nothing at that time. So the prices were, for the most part, practical: sewing machines, skins of wool, boards of fabric, souvenir sheets, etc. Because for the war, many people lost a lot of things. So this is one way they can get something. Now, you can say 1991, letter writing day. Again, fairy, this time a different fairy, but the horse remains white. The white horse is something different. Okay, girl sitting on a morning glory. Morning glory is the name of the flower. She's sitting on the flower, and all of them are very creative. Don't question them whether a girl can sit on the morning glory, but it makes it very appealing to children. They need to write letters, put those stamps, and send it to their friends. But in Japan, people, almost any Japanese you talk to them, when I tell them that I collect Japanese stamps, okay, I'm a Japanese stamp collector, I'm a philatelist. Almost every Japanese, invariably, they say, when I was a child, I also collected stamps. I don't know where I kept it in my house, but they must be somewhere there. But I also collected stamps. So for the young children, this sort of stamps is a very appealing thing to collect. Again, the fairy has chain, but the horse is not chained. Only thing is, it's got a yellow tail to fly. Now, the same thing as I told you, this again explains to you about the Nengajo and the lottery at that time. This is a pan under the 10 yen span of fairy and the girl sitting on the morning glory. This is 1992. If you see, issued in 1992, 23rd of July. This is again Most of the things, they have a bird always delivering a letter to your flower, and a bird delivering a letter to your dog. These are all something, because most of the Japanese also are great animal lovers. They all love animals, they all love birds, and pets is something very exciting to young children. I have a friend of mine, his son went to school. In the evening, when he came, he saw a snake going around. He picked it up, put it in his bag, and brought home. My friend got scared. So, what are you trying to do? He said, I'm trying to keep a pet. He said, no, 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 you go and leave it. So, the Japanese like pets. So, the idea that animals and birds are carrying letters and delivery, that excites them. So, that's what the postal department knows. And they're triggering that through these stamps. Now, these are called as cards, not first day cover. They are the cards and printed cards. On one side you have a picture, the other side is a stamp. The picture carries a stamp, and that is the cancellation is done on the stamp. Then 1993 July, you have stamp. One is a puppy reading a letter under a tree. Another one, a boy is shown a flying letter here. Boy is there. There, somebody is showing the boy. Look at that letter is flying above you. So that's the thing. And down below you have a souvenir sheet. On this side you have a pen posted on a cover, first day cover, and cancelled also in the post office. And they cancel in such a way that your stamp does not get disfigured. It's beautifully always they take pains, and even in the post office when they put the stamps, they make sure your stamp is not disfigured. Then you see giraffe has come into the picture here. It's a multicolor commemorative stamp on 1994, July 22nd. A giraffe and flowers, giraffe delivering the letter to flowers. And there's the end board. So like a normal thing, either it's a bird or an animal, or animal giving to the bird, or animal giving to a flower, that sort of a thing. And the young boy happily showing down below. And that's a first day cover with a souvenir sheet fixed on that. On this side, you have the stamp, which has not been cancelled. It's a new thing, unnamed stamp. Then you have a boy and ostrich carrying a stamp and going, and a rabbit and this going on. A souvenir sheet with the ostrich. You know, ostrich can put their head into the thing with the. Now this time it's a cat that's sleeping, and also a giraffe or a horse. Rather, it's a horse that is there with a letter delivering to the flower. A cat sleeping with a letter on his mouth and a pen. Now, this four are again on a competition, not by regular artists. Lucky Balloon, Olivia Isaac from Philippines, he or she won the thing. Then Haruka Kumiya, okay, bird friends. They are the bird, the birds flying on top, a bird sitting down below, and the mountains, bird friends, and message from rainbow forest. The rainbow forest, different color, and a romance kavya. Greetings by Yumi Kiryu. This is again like what I showed you earlier, a stamp a competition. Out of just two stamps, the first and third, they got margins also. The other two stamps are without margins, but all the four are output of people who participated in the competition. This is a souvenir sheet, a 10 and stamps pan is there. Now, if you see for the first time, till that time, you will see either a stamp or two stamps, a souvenir sheet, or one stamp or two stamps, and 10 stamps. The first time, they just shifted to full sheet of stamps for letter writing day. Okay, you can see a full sheet letter writing day with the children ready to write and post letters. That happened in July 1998. It is written here as ASA 10, ASA era, and the 10th ASA era is where the last emperor, once emperor takes to the throne, that is called, the emperor's name is, that era is called ASA era. Now we have, what we have is Reva era, after last emperor abdicated and the new prince took over as the emperor now. Now, that is a full sheet. You can see the full sheet with the, I am writing a letter, I got a letter, feel like flowers, feel like the sky, and red letters together. Just if you look at the caption of these letters, motivating children to participate. The next is a full sheet. This is the same the stamps that you saw that have been made into a full sheet and sold. Yeah. It's a 50th stamp sheet. Now this again is the souvenir sheet, 2 stamps, and letter writing Japan. The souvenir sheet is letter writing 1998. Okay, read letters together by Dick Burma. Dick Burma is one of the original illustrations of 18th century. Dick Burma is one of the cartoonists or very famous in the Europe. So his pictures have been taken for this. And then a letter writing day full sheet is there. And this, if you see, some of the stamps are also of odd shape. If you know how to cut the stamps and see them. Okay. Now, this got giraffe, it's got a girl. If you look at the girl on the right hand side, she's inside a circle. That's a circular stamp that you have. Down below also you have a circular stamp. Now they don't tear the stamps and sell you a circular stamp or something. If you wanted, you buy the full sheet from the post office. That's the idea of selling the stamp. So everything is bought together. They have giraffe, Risa stars, Mephi, Barbara, with all my heart. So like that, out of some themes, some poems or something, they've taken the themes and drawn the picture and made a sheet. We also have a souvenir sheet. The same out of this, the pictures. 2 of the pictures are taken, made into a souvenir sheet. And then you have a Saturn and Pope. Saturn, and you can see the stamps are also from the same thing. This is released 1999 for 80th. The whole sheet is 80th. And then the same thing, what you saw in that, they are here as a 10 stamp pad, or this is again a small sheet of this. The same thing has been given here. So with that small presentation, I thank you very much for joining us today. If you have got any questions, I am there for another 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope I think it was useful for your theme presentation anytime you want.
Yes, sir. Really, it's useful, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Are you also a philatelist?
No, sir.
Okay.
When I was in school days, I used to do, but nowadays, not.
Yeah. Okay. Like many Japanese.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
本当にありがとうございました。
いや、とんでもないです。どうも。今日時間を取っていただきましてありがとうございました。本当にお疲れ様です。
はい、先生、ありがとうございました。
Thank you.